What's up, everyone? It's Geoff Grammer with the ABQJournal, Sean Reider from Ann Arbor, and nice little start to the college football year. It's been a fun first full Saturday of college football, but not all of us had the good fortune of being at the big house. Sean, what's it like in Michigan right now, man?
Dude, it is. Dude, the weather's so awesome compared to New Mexico right now. It's a little chilly. It kind of feels like fall. Usually it's so humid this time of year.
I don't think that's what we're going for here, man.
Oh, yeah. No, man. We just got back. I just got back from post-game interviews with Dorian Thomas, 2 TDs tonight. Really an awesome night from Dorian. We can get more into him later. Jason Eck, who I think he was second in solo tackles behind Tavian Combs. And then, of course, Jason Eck, who I'm seeing is getting a lot of praise, more praise than I can honestly even remember last year with Bronco Mendenhall in terms of people really feeling good about a game that was a 34-17 loss for the Lobos, but if anything, kind of a really pleasant surprise for this fan base.
So there's some interesting thoughts that I have about the start to the Bronco Mendenhall era, before we knew what the Bronco Mendenhall era was going to become. So let's not get into some people's feelings about how it ended. And the start of the Jason Eck era, I guess expectations maybe play into how you feel. But I remember sitting on this very show a year ago thinking, man, this is a pretty good Lobo football team based on how competitive and how close they were to beating an FCS team that ended up being, one of the best FCS teams in the entire country.
Yeah, played for a
national title at the FCS level. I remember thinking, man, I think this Lobo team could be pretty good. I have the same feelings tonight, but I think because the expectations were so reversed, right? Nobody thought the Lobos as a 34.5 point favorite were going to go into the big house and make a game of it, and they absolutely did. I was impressed a year ago. I'm impressed again tonight, but I think the general feeling is even more impressed tonight, despite them not really ever being in it, than people were a year ago when they had every chance to win it up until 10 seconds to go in the game when Scott Trey Humphrey, ran in a touchdown and won the game.
I was thinking about it during the game itself, and I don't even know, the Montana State comp, obviously makes sense, right now because it's the first game of a new coaching staff, a new team, and all that as well. For me, I was thinking about it in terms of comparing it to Arizona and Auburn, and I think the most impressive part of tonight was that they did, they scored in the second half. They didn't get the water shut out because they had, UNM last year, Bronco Mendenhall said, I think we could play with anybody for a half and all that, and they certainly did against Arizona and Auburn, all that. But the fact that UNM, were they ever really truly threatening? They needed a couple breaks to kind of go their way to get to that point, and that those breaks did not come tonight. We can get into Underwood later. I thought Underwood played really well, honestly. He was just driving the Ferrari. Did not crash it whatsoever. But no, I thought, that drive, that 15-play, 75-yard drive, capped with that Dorian Thomas tutty, his second of the night. I thought that was honestly really impressive. Tutty. And I think
that's mid-season form there, Sean. Go.
Tutty. This is a show for dudes. The fact that this is going off the rails. It's good to be back in the post game. By the way, there's a lot of manic energy here right now. I'm sweating because I just ran up the big house stairs to get here. It's good to be back, folks. But no, I thought that was really impressive. Can you please steer the conversation now? I don't know what we're doing.
I already have some comments in here. I found out tonight that you, the second I actually set the whole little studio up here, the YouTube page anyway, goes up and has a placeholder, and people can start putting their comments in even before the show comes up. So that I learned tonight. I'll start doing that a little bit earlier, and people can start getting their comments up like Jimmy H did a good 20 minutes ago already. And he said whenever they were shown, the Lobo sidelines looked happy and determined. Your impression, Sean, were you able from where you were most of the game to get sort of a feel of that sideline? Was it in over your head? Was it awe? Were they determined like Jimmy thinks they appeared to be?
So a couple things. I really was not in position for how big the big house is and how much how high the press box is to really study how guys were looking and feeling on the sideline and all that too. But in terms of talking to guys this week, I talked to guys that were Idaho transfers and that were guys that played Oregon really well last year. And a lot of those guys were confident and definitely determined heading into this game. It was not and even the guys that didn't play in that game last year made it did not seem like they're going to back down or anything like that. And they certainly didn't tonight. Now they did mention a couple things here. Jason Eck did say that he thought his team was a little bit rattled to start. Obviously going down 17-0. He thought there was a little bit of awe there, but it was kind of a mix of, guys just getting adjusted to the environment. Obviously, 110,000 people kind of coming down on you like that, all fired up, you're happy football is back, and the speed of the game, right? It's live bullets. It's a really fast, athletic, talented Michigan team. Like there's going to be a bit of a learning curve there. Jason Eck, we talked to him post-game too. He mentioned that early on the second touchdown in particular, they were having they do Coach Com now. They didn't do Coach Com at the FCS level. They were having Coach Com issues. So on the second touchdown, Jason Eck said that, it went all fuzzy in his ear and he wasn't able to hear the actual call. They gave up that touchdown. Jason Eck said they got to do a better job with the in terms of making sure that they're like Coach Com wire or whatever that they put at the 50-yard line. They got to have that in a better spot for whatever the venue is, and have signals to fall back on so that doesn't happen again. He owned that, and he said, we didn't put our guys in a good spot there. They got it resolved, but he definitely seemed a little annoyed that did end up happening.
We will get into a little more of the details here in just a second. I will
Richie.
Since Richie's always one of the first ones on. He and Adam both. Adam was on. Jimmy obviously was in 20 minutes ago already with some comments. Richie, glad you enjoyed it. We'll get into some specific details. First of all, I just saw your post on X, and why don't you let us know where you're actually sitting right now?
Yeah, so every time you're on the road, without exception, I think in my time on the beat, the athletic director or the deputy athletic director comes on the road. And I am currently sitting in the New Mexico suite right now. There are cherry and silver pom-poms. I could probably get up in a second and get those. It's a very, very nice suite. And it has when you walk in on the door, there's a placard that says, Fernando family visiting AD suite, Fernando Lovo with the Wing Michigan helmet right there. So I am in here right now.
I sent a text to Fernando about something just a little while ago. He actually is game, not tonight, short notice, didn't get it done. Blame this guy. But Fernando may join us on some post games, kind of give us an AD's reaction. I don't think we're going to be getting head coach or players on our post games very often. But Fernando and maybe some other people can join us on these. Let's take a moment to give the basic rundown, as though this were a sports center or something like that.
Yes.
The actual rundown for those that didn't catch the game, the number 14 Michigan Wolverines in front of, what was the announced attendance, Sean?
110,000 and some change. It feels funny to say and some change after the end of 110,000, but I'd have to pull it up exactly.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. 110,648. So yeah, some change.
Basically, the capacity of University Stadium, basically.
So the big house was packed.
Yes.
Obviously, they had a lot to play for and a lot of interest in this game that had nothing to do with New Mexico. You had the number one recruit in the country, a guy who was getting paid an estimated $3 million this year as a true freshman. He's the fourth true freshman starter of game one in Michigan history. Obviously, Michigan has a rich history. And Bryce Underwood he's a guy that we'll get to a little more in a bit, but yeah. You already gave your impression. My impression's the same. A true freshman starting his first game. I don't care who you're playing against. He handled it well. He did not press. He did not try and show he was worth $3 million in the very first game. He did what he was supposed to do, and I don't think he ever got in over his head. I think some other Michigan players, quite frankly, look, they're the better team. They're ranked. They should have won this game, and they did. But if I'm saying either team lost composure at times, I would say it was probably Michigan. There were a couple guys that I don't think liked the fact that the Lobos were giving them a little bit of a hard time. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I don't think the Lobos had a shot to pull off this upset. But they gave him a fight, and there were some guys on that Michigan team that I don't think liked it at all, that they were even in the game. So
no, and I think you guys noticed it a bit more on the broadcast than I really did in the press box. There was the clip of obviously Jason Eck getting on Malik Elaine that I tweeted about, and I didn't see what happened on the field. I was typing at that point. And he said that he thought the game kind of got chippy on Michigan's end, which led to it getting chippy on New Mexico's end, and that led to that interaction there. Dorian Thomas added too. He's like, he got crunched over the middle and it didn't end up he got crunched in the middle, and he said he had a little bit of shoulder pain there. Obviously played through it. And of course, I said it before, I think on the live on Tuesday, that I thought Dorian was going to be a guy that could actually match up with Michigan. And he did. He was a tough guy to bring down in certain plays tonight. And he said, I'm one of them. After he kind of like bounced off a tackle and, surged forward a bit and then got brought down. One of the Michigan guys was like, you're not supposed to keep going. You're supposed to go down, actually, which is a little bit funny. But no, I think they were a bit more pesky than Michigan was honestly anticipating, considering just what this Michigan team is probably all about.
I'm going to pull up some stats while we talk about the game. Let's see here. I've got to change the view to stats, and we will go to the game comparison, maybe the game spread. Don't know how well you guys can see that depending on the screen you're watching on. There's all the game stats basically. Sean, you probably have a stat sheet there in front of you as well. I have it on a separate screen here that I can see it a little better. So I hope you guys can see what we're looking at here. I'm going to run down some of the stats that I think were key. You were there. I want you to obviously to take the lead on this, but I'm going to start with this. This is a UNM Lobo team that for the past 2 years led the nation in penalties and penalty yards combined. There were two or three teams worse than them last year, I think, in those stats. But over the combined past 2 seasons and previous 2 coaches, they were the worst in the country in penalty yards and penalties overall. And tonight they had 1 penalty for 5 yards. If you're going to give yourself any chance at an upset, if you're going to give yourself any chance at being competitive against a team that is just a little more better, there you go, just a little better than you, you can't give them every opportunity. There were a couple turnovers. There were 3 turnovers actually by the Lobos, 3 interceptions that we can talk about those as well. But the Lobos didn't give this game away and give their chance at competing away by stupid penalties. They committed 1 for 5 yards. I do think they probably early in the first quarter got away with 1 horse tackle that I can remember. I do think that they got a first down on a catch that wasn't a catch, that they were smart enough to go snap the ball.
Jack Lane really smart to get that ball snapped. Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple things that they maybe kind of got away with. I think Michigan probably got away with a few things as well. But the overriding sentiment that I have and the others in the chat here have is, wow, a Lobo team that led the nation in penalties the past 2 years had 1 penalty for 5 yards in game 1 of 75 new players, a new coaching staff in front of 110,000 people. That to me won't mean anything to any Michigan fan or any neutral observer, but I'll bet you there's a lot of Lobo fans out there that think, man, that's a hell of a good start. If I had to find one stat, that was actually the stat that I think probably impressed me the most.
Yeah, because we had the conversation so many times in this kind of post game last year. We pull up the stats and we look at the penalties and say, yeah, another 10 penalties for however many yards, 100 plus usually. And they all had effects in the game. And we would talk about it when we didn't have the show, and Danny Gonzalez was last year and all that too. And I remember talking last year, it basically is like a totally new team, right? So like how much like carryover is there year to year, right? In terms of being a highly, very heavily penalized team and all that too. But no, I mean, we asked Jason about it tonight, and he said like it's certainly been an emphasis, right? Like being disciplined and like making sure you're not losing your cool, after the snap, and making sure you're being smart and aligning correctly, but before the snap as well. I was shocked at the amount of penalties Michigan, frankly, had, if I'm being completely honest.
Right.
I really did not think. I think it kind of got sloppy there, procedure-wise, a little bit. It has certainly been, from a fan's perspective, like a really weird, frustrating run, and it's been a weird run for us too. Because how do you talk about penalties on a week-to-week basis, right? There's nothing you can do to advance the the conversation until they either have more or have less. And, Bronco Mendenhall even talked about it too. It's the idea of like, how much can you realistically work on that too? Like you can talk about it, but I mean, like, it's not like you're going to go out there. Today's the penalty practice, right? Like,
right. And you can't, I mean, obviously there was that play where it looked funny when he's running away to get out of there. He's like, I didn't do it. I'm not getting involved. I'm not getting involved. It was clear though. It was an emphasis. Don't let their chippiness lead to you guys doing something stupid.
Yep.
Jack Lane repeatedly was pulling guys away before they got a little too chippy. I thought the Michigan secondary and the UNM receivers were talking a little bit more than I thought they would be. And frankly, I thought the UNM receivers were talking up a big game too. And it could have gone either way on some stuff, but I was a little surprised there wasn't, maybe a personal foul eventually between the secondary and maybe some of the receivers. It didn't happen, but I credit Jack Lane for pulling some guys out right away. I credit Jason Eck for clearly emphasizing it. You just can't give away 40 or 50 yards every game in penalties. And UNM was second to last in the country in third down defense last year, as fans certainly know, as you certainly know, Sean. And I don't know how many first downs they gave away on penalties last year, but they didn't do that tonight. I don't think their one penalty for 5 yards. I frankly don't even remember it, but I don't think it was on defense on third down, giving them a first down. So that was interesting to see. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing that I think should really kind of hearten fans, I got to look at the numbers completely, and I will do that probably for the rest of the night, if we're being honest. But I think the one thing in the early going was pretty clear, right? When they're getting into 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, right? They're struggling to get a stop there, right? Couldn't get them off the field and all that. And that's what that Michigan team is built to do. Convert on those short yardage situations or shorter yardage situations, right? But when it was 3rd and 9 and all that too, the situations that this defense is built to create, yeah, the defense was working. Like, it was getting them off the field. And I think that's the fact that they were doing it against, this caliber opponent. I think that was and yes, freshman quarterback, but a very talented freshman quarterback that I thought played pretty well. No, I think the fact that they were doing that should be heartening if you're invested in this team.
Adam, I think you did post this earlier, and obviously we're talking about they did have one penalty,
Yep.
4 or 5 yards. But yeah, just to kind of get back to some of these reader comments, viewer comments. We got Stoney here pointing out on YouTube, most impressive thing was the discipline. After being the most penalized team for 2 years, this is a relief. Lobos did their best not to beat themselves too much. It's obviously what we've been addressing. That's exactly what your comments here, Stoney, and others are sort of why I brought this up so early, I guess, in the show. Again, if this is your first time watching, we don't always talk penalties and just penalties, and it isn't meant to any way to be critical of the officiating. Fans can do that. There's not a whole lot of overly critical officiating talk on this show. But after 2 years of leading the nation in penalties, it was pretty impressive to see, like I said, 75 new players and going into the big house on game 1 and having one penalty for 5 yards. Hey, Jack Lane, I posted this during the game, Sean. I want to ask you about this because there's a comment here.
Can I add one last thing on the penalties?
Yep.
Not to keep dragging the penalty discussion out. I will say I think UNM got penalized 2 or 3 times in the opener against Montana State, and I think that was their low outside of the Washington State game, if I remember correctly. I might be totally wrong. And I think we had maybe a similar discussion at some point, like they were the most penalized team in the country, and they only got penalized, 2 times in the opener.
So let's see.
So right? I think maybe we need to wait a little bit, right? Like, and I think it's impressive, clearly, but should we read so much into it off a 1 game sample size? Probably not, right? Especially,
Yes, we should. Where's the one I wanted to pull up here? Jack Lane, I posted earlier. The question here from Lobo Leroy is Jack Lane all right? He got the car crash treatment today. I posted earlier, look, the good news is Jack Lane can take a beating. The bad news is Jack Lane took a beating. You can only give so much credit or have build so much confidence about, the Lobo quarterback, he's tough. Bodies aren't meant to do what he did tonight over the course of a 12-game season, and he will not survive if he did that. So you can be impressed all you want. You better hope that doesn't happen again, though.
No, I really like the term car crash treatment, by the way. That I might have to steal that at some point. That might be going in the notebook, Lobo Leroy, if that's okay with you. I will give you credit, but that's a good term. No, and we asked Jason about this, right? And it's, he said, yeah, Jack's a tough kid, but like, hey, we weren't going against the friendliest personnel. He said very clearly tonight, UCLA is still on the schedule, but he thought, this is the best personnel they're going to play all year. I'm inclined to agree. And that had something to do with it too. Obviously, this isn't an offensive line that is built to block that level of personnel, but he thought there were some issues in protection as well that they're going to have to clean up and figure out.
Jack Lane. Let's ask. What was the report that you got on Jack Lane health wise, or anybody health wise, really? But Jack Lane in particular. Do they think he's going to be able to make it on the flight home without,
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be pulling him up to the tarmac in a hospital bed. I think he's going to be a bit sore tomorrow. Yeah. And I think he's going to be a little bit sore probably on Monday too. Any other soreness beyond that, we'll talk about it at that point. But no, he's going to get on the plane from what I can tell.
I'll say this: Jack-Lane's interception 2 of 3 was kind of this is either going to be a punt type throw. We're going to give our guy a chance downfield to either make the catch, maybe get a pass interference in the first down, or maybe they'll intercept it, but it'll be the same as a short punt. So I'm not going to be too critical of that. It was clear. Right? It was clear what they were doing on that one that he got intercepted the second time. The first interception of his 3, kind of a freak play where it hits a lineman in the helmet.
I didn't see a good replay of it. Was it a deflection or was it a helmet?
No, he hit his offensive lineman. He hit his right guard in the helmet.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think he was trying to sidearm it. I think he probably could have done a better job to avoid this happening, but I also think his lineman got pushed in at the last second as he was trying to find a little window, and kind of got pushed into the ball a little bit. Anyway, it was off the helmet, kind of a freakish thing. I'm not saying you can't be critical of those interceptions. They are what they are. They're interceptions. But the third interception was the only one I would be overly critical of Jack. And look, I don't think the Lobos made a lot of mistakes. I think his third interception might come in that. He kind of threw it up for grabs basically when they were in the red zone and could have got some points, but it was at a juncture in the game too, frankly, that maybe you're not just thinking points, you got to get a touchdown. And then I'll tease this, stick around for a little bit, because I will in a moment talk about I thought there was one coaching decision that really bothered me and I do think affected the game a little bit from Jason Eck. I think Jason Eck had his team ready to go. Overall, obviously, you're going to give a really good grade. They did still lose, but I think it's clear that they had a very good game. But I'll bring up a coaching thing in just a minute. Let's put a bow on Jack Lane. Jack Lane's performance to you was, if you're doing an instant quick grade, what do you think?
Gritty, tough. Took a million hits, took like 30 hits tonight, like something really egregious like that.
Yeah, including that targeting that the replay showed on that targeting, man. I don't even know.
And that was not Tevin Shaw's finest rep. That was not the. And I know you're going against some really talented players. So I don't want to bag it, but not the finest rep there. No, I think it was really gritty. I don't think there was nothing tonight that I saw and said, ooh, the Lobos might have made a mistake, in terms of the quarterback competition. They might have, I don't know, maybe, James Lobstein gives you something more. And James Lobstein, some action tonight too. I wasn't expecting to be using those kind of packages tonight where he was running the ball. But Lobstein is a tough runner as well.
Little interested in the Lobstein thing because the announcers are talking about it. Like Jason told them on the production show that Lobstein's the guy we're going to put in a few times for running packages. And when you put a backup in just in a goal line situation and he runs on first down, it's so obvious that he's going to run the next 2 times. And it was, and Michigan snuffed it out. But I think you kind of gave that away already, that like, okay, if you're only putting this guy inside the 10, it's pretty obvious what's about to happen. So
they were keyed in the entire time on that.
They were. His first draw went for 7 or 8 yards, but after that, he didn't have much of a chance. Anyway, I want to say the first 2 drives, things didn't look good. The first, touchdown was a long run. But the Lobo defense, other than that long run on drive number 1 for the touchdown, I want to say the Lobo defense really impressed me in that if Michigan was going to score, it was going to take some of those long drives, right? They for the most part didn't allow the home runs, and Michigan should have some talent that should be, frankly, on paper, looking at a New Mexico team that didn't make a bowl game, that has an entirely new roster almost. They better get some home runs with a bunch of 5 stars on their roster, and they didn't get many of them. They got enough, and that's why they won 34-17, right? But
what was there? And part of it, not to cut
I was going to say UNM's defense. I'm giving them credit.
Well, no, not even that. I think part of it, and I think to a certain degree, right? Like, with the game plan for Underwood and all that, and throwing it deep, right? I don't know if everything was fully open for him to kind of operate entirely. And do you know what the longest attempted pass was from Underwood, or completion at the very least?
So the longest completion would have been 39 yards to Channing Goodwin, and that was that the one at the end of the second quarter?
Yeah, I believe so.
So let me use that opportunity to do my one critique, and you can be mad at me all you want, Lobo fans. You cut the lead to 17-10, and you're at minute 35 left in the half, and you got them at 3rd and 14 right after a sack of their true freshman quarterback, and you get aggressive. Frankly, you get a little greedy in my mind and call a timeout. Had they not called that timeout, Michigan was in no hurry to run that 3rd down play. It would have been down to about a minute left in the half, and maybe they still get that same completion, but then they're under a minute and they're starting to operate a little differently, right? Maybe the exact same thing happens, and I'm just blowing hot air. But you call the timeout at the end of the first half to be the aggressor and say, oh, we're going to make you punt it to us. And then you give up a big play and they go and score a touchdown and take all that momentum you had away. Look, high risk, high reward means that sometimes when it bites you, it's worth bringing up. You're not above being called out on one bad call, but it really was only one bad call. I think Jason Eck called a hell of a game and prepared his team so well. I do think that UNM had a lot of momentum. The whole country was starting to flip over to NBC to see what's going on in the 17-10 game where this Lobo team was just pulled off this great trick play that was buzzing on social media. They get a fumble on the next kickoff. They kick a field goal and cut it to 10 in the big house. You got a 3rd and 14 on a freshman quarterback, and you call a timeout and to be the aggressor. Well, a few plays later, they score a touchdown, and all that momentum's gone, and it's 24-10 going into halftime. That was the only thing I would point out that I really think Jason Eck bit off a little bit too much and tried to get a little too greedy there. It's hard to criticize him for getting a little too greedy only a couple minutes after his aggression is what called that trick play for a touchdown too.
Mm-hmm.
So that is who he is. He is going to gamble a little bit. He is going to be that guy. And you can't have the good without having some of the bad sometimes, but it's also worth noting that sometimes the good comes with some of the bad.
Well, yeah, and he owned a bit of that in the post-game press conference too. And then also said as well, like, that score there, like, like that, like, because this really came from asking about him about Underwood. And he said, like, that was awesome, like, for Underwood. Like that took the wind out of our sails to a certain point, because we're coming back.
Yeah.
We're only down 7, we got the ball back to start the second half. And like, we're going to be more fired up. And he's like, that kind of put a little bit of a damper on things for us.
Yeah. I thought that was a big point of the game, frankly. But it's okay. You went into the big house and you went to try and pull off an upset and shock the world. And sometimes you got to be aggressive with that. If stuff like that tends to be a theme throughout the season, then we'll talk about it more. For now, I think it's worth a mention, and that's about all we need to do right now. All right, some of these other questions.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Adam, we already got that one on the penalties. All right. The Lobos covered easily, played with heart. Called an awesome moral victory. You can address moral victories and Coach Eck. I will point this out. The spread was 34.5, and indeed the Lobos 17-point loss covered that spread pretty easily. I will also point out, although it wasn't as close, frankly, I don't think it was as competitive a game. The two teams picked last and second to last in the Mountain West, Nevada and New Mexico, who were not just last and second to last, but like if you look at the point totals, those were easily the two teams at the bottom that nobody thought was going to be any good in the Mountain West. Both went and covered against pretty good nationally ranked teams on the road in huge road environments. I don't know what the heck that means other than gamblers like betting the Mountain West for a reason, I guess. But I do think New Mexico had a hell of a showing, and sometimes point spreads show that.
Well, and I think I'll add too, like, I'm not going to paraphrase Jason on this answer quite yet, because I think I need to sit down and like look at the quote on that. That was a question I asked. Like, you guys lost tonight, but you might have had one of the better performances in a pretty horrible week for the Mountain West. Like, you could really probably look and say, hey, like, this might be a top 2 kind of performance here. I don't know. It might be the best, honestly. I got to sit back and like think about it. I mean, UNLV obviously, beat the brakes off what looks like a pretty rough Sam Houston State team. But I think you can have a lot of debate there. Is there a sense of, hey, every coach is always going to say we're going to take it game by game. But when you're doing, looking at the scoreboards this week, is there a sense of, hey, wait a minute, like we might be able to contend for a little bit more? So I will not paraphrase his answer though, because I don't think I will do it justice.
He did say earlier in the week he's not about moral victories. He wants to win.
No, and he said it after the letter too. And Dorian Thomas and Jackson Eck said it too.
But I will point out that there's something you take away from games, even in a loss. And I think what they take away from this game is things proud to build on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a moral victory by direct definition, but that sounds like a moral victory to me. Adam Valdez has a point here or a post here. I don't know that you've seen it, Sean. You've been working.
Justice Haynes, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a flip off from a player to the Lobos, and Michigan didn't like the Lobos coming in and kind of upsetting their happy little season opener.
Nice little full circle moment for me, because I was in this exact same stadium in, I believe, 2012 when Ohio State defensive back Marcus Hall flipped off the crowd as he was leaving. I think he was getting ejected, if I remember correctly. So neat little full circle moment there. Not nearly as dramatic as Marcus Hall, but yeah, kind of fun.
There was a quarterback question that I'll pull back up. Tiki Taki Taco is asking, who's the last UNM quarterback to have 40 or more pass attempts in a game before tonight? I'm not going to know the answer to that, but I'll bet you it was a couple years ago with Dylan, maybe. I mean, did he have any games where they had 40 attempts?
I got to look back. And I think, honestly, Frank Mercogliano has this dialed up somewhere for a little post-game notes package as well. But I'm going to have to look that up, honestly.
All right.
Dylan might have. I don't know, though.
The officials managed the chippiness well. I think that's probably right. I think that's right. All right. We were given the team credit for the penalties. It is, and I alluded to this a little bit. The defense limited the big plays compared to last year. Small sample size. Same as what we were saying with the penalties. Let's not go overboard, but that's what I noticed, man. I mean, opening drive, you give up a huge touchdown, but
56-yarder, yeah.
Yeah, end of the first half, you give up the big passing play, but for the most part, the big plays were limited, and this is a Michigan team that has a bunch of 4s and 5s and star recruits and a bunch of athletes that are going to be playing on Sundays one day that should have big play capabilities, and the Lobos didn't really let that happen. Now, they might have got driven on a couple times and some nice long drives, and you end up in the end zone at 4 or 5 yards of play. That's the same as ending up in the end zone on one play for 80 yards. But if you end up in the end zone anyway, it's still what you're supposed to do. So Michigan did that, but I agree with you, man. Like, you make a team drive 8, 9, 10, 12 plays on a drive. You give yourself a chance for them to either make a mistake or be that one incompletion leads, turns a 2nd and 7 into a 3rd and 7 and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the bend but don't break. There's a reason a lot of defenses that bend but don't break and sometimes give up a lot of yards can still be really good defenses, and that's because what the Lobos did tonight. You just don't give up the big plays.
And we talked about it a little bit with Eck during camp as well. And he said, like, one of the philosophical things with this defense in terms of where they want to improve, like where it needs to happen, is giving up big plays. I mean, he rattled off the big play stats right off the top of his head from last year. He's like, we can't do that, and we don't want to do that, and we need to improve that aspect.
Let me get back to Matthew Adams here in just a second. Casa del Verde Entertainment is saying that he read someone, I imagine on social media on X or something, say that the automatic ejection after the targeting penalty was bogus. I thought he was crazy. What do you guys think? I am not a fan of the automatic ejection. of a targeting period. I think that there needs to be some sort of leeway. I hate taking out a player for a play that you don't know the intent, right? I know it was a dangerous penalty. I know they're trying to take it out of the game, and that's the penalty is the punishment is set to make it so that players don't even try and tackle with the helmet to helmet. I get that.
Yeah.
That said, by the letter of the law, absolutely he should have been. If it's targeting and by the letter of the law it was targeting, he should be ejected.
Yeah,
it was. So I don't have a problem with him being ejected. If the person was saying that the ejection was bogus because of what I was just saying, that I don't think they should automatically be kicked out of the game all the time, then I would agree with that. But yeah, by the letter of the law, it was targeting and he should have been ejected.
If you take out the personal opinions on does targeting warrant an ejection and everything else after that as well, that's a whole different discussion. Even on Twitter, I saw some kind of Michigan people who were like, if Underwood got that hit, we would be cheering for targeting right there, right? Like that would be clear targeting in our eyes. So,
all right, Matthew Adams, along those lines, I guess, frankly, because it talks about the health of Jack Lane. Super proud of the team and hopeful for the future. One concern: Lane staying alive. Is our offensive line in trouble, or is UM's defensive line just that good? A lot of empty backfield looks too. I would agree with the backfield look too. That was kind of a little interesting to me, but
way more than I thought, honestly. Way more than I ever would have.
But they weren't running the ball well, so maybe they just kind of abandoned that. I wonder if that was the game plan, or if they abandoned it once they realized they couldn't run much. But speak to this, Sean, because you know the answer. Michigan's defensive line is, frankly, if you rank it in the whole country, it's probably going to be on the first hand of rankings.
Well, you're playing Derek Moore. I mean, Derek Moore's a monster. Like, I mean, that guy is an absolute stud. You're playing a really good group. I know they lost Mason Graham. I know they lost Kenneth Grant. I mentioned it in like 4 different stories this week. Still really good of what they're bringing back, and they're breaking some guys in, but at the same time, a lot of talent there. I mean, that is the ultimate. That is a bit of a true blue chip defensive line right there. But this is a question I kind of phrased. That was kind of how I phrased the question, right? The idea of, is it a personnel thing? And I think I talked about it earlier too. Is it a personnel thing? You're going up against this kind of group, this defense, this defensive line, or were there viable issues in protection? And I think it was a true mix tonight. And that's kind of what I thought as well.
All right, that car crash treatment, which is what we're kind of alluding to. Global Leroy is giving you all.
Let's go, Leroy. Thank you. I will give you credit if I use it, though. I will.
Another injury question. Do we have any kind of update on Brawley?
I don't have an update on Brawley. I thought Brawley played really well tonight. There was one series where he was in on every single play, and then obviously returning the punt, or catching the punt, I should say, after that. He did not on that series. He did not get a PBU on that third down stop, which I thought was a little interesting. But maybe I got to go back and watch the replay and see what actually happened. But definitely it would be an impactful loss on D. Coaches will say that and players will say that too. Brawley is a guy who's played in this defense. He's very confident in this defense. He's a guy that can get guys aligned in this defense. And if they were good at Brawley, they need Brawley. Because I think we don't have the depth chart yet, but I think that would probably be more. I'm not going to go down that stretch. But anyways, nice game for him.
Little surprised, frankly, to see that he only had 4 tackles and the 1 pass breakup, because I thought he was pretty active. I thought he was more active than that, but that doesn't necessarily speak to anything. Tavian Combs, 9 total tackles, 7 solo. Looking at some defensive stats now, just for those that maybe aren't seeing it on the screen as well. But
I'm trying. By the way, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought Jason Eck did play a good active game. At linebacker, he certainly early in the game certainly got a lot of praise, being the coach's son and coming over with his dad. A lot of talk about him being not just a team captain, but the leading vote getter of the team captains by the team. But defensively, I thought it was just a good, solid team effort, and maybe this speaks to that in that you don't have any person. I mean, look, Tavian Combs with 9 tackles is a good game, but usually when you have a team, a game with the 34-point spread, the lower level team, the underdog, is usually going to have a couple guys with double-digit tackles, because that assumes that the really good team is going to be running it down your throat and a lot of big plays. This looks like a lot of good balance on defense for a game like this. So I think that's pretty, again, what we've both kind of alluded to. I thought the defense played well.
I shouted him out early as well, early in the game. Kyle McCray, I thought he did some good things as well. He got beat on that double move, though. I mean, but that happens. Marlon Klein, good Lord. That kid is a player, man. I thought Carhu did some good things as well. I did not get to tonight. I'm probably going to have to ask a question on Tuesday about some of the defensive end rotating as well. There was one third down where they went, I think, Lopez, Carhu. It was just a really light third down. It really light look up front, I should say, and it did not end up working out. And I think that was first quarter. Keyshawn James Newby, I know he's not going to be him personally. He's not going to be super pleased, I think, with his night tonight. But I thought he did some solid things as well. So yeah, I've been kind of banging the drum a little bit on it. I do think this is the best defense I have covered in my time on the beat. By a pretty big margin, if we're being honest. I do think there's a world where this defense could end up being the strength of the team. I think the way that they move the ball tonight, the offense, I should say, I think that probably puts that a little bit more in doubt, honestly, doing it against Michigan like this. But no, I think this defense is kind of light years better than what we've seen over the last 2 years. So long as they stay healthy.
That third down pass that I was referring to earlier, that I didn't like, the long play that kind of stole the momentum from the Lobos at the end of the second quarter. Only rushed 3 guys on third and long, and Matthew Abeta is saying he didn't like that. It's fair. Let's see if that becomes a trend. But that's right. I mean, there wasn't much pressure on that game, on that play. So I will gladly kind of keep an eye on that and see if that becomes a thing. Because on third and long, I like blitzing, especially when it's a freshman. G Wade telling us he would give Jack Lane a B+ for the
G
game.
Wade, I think that's a fair grade. I think that is.
Yeah, I'd probably take the plus away. I'm a jerk. I'll take the plus away.
If you're getting hit as much as he was, I think you can add the plus there. I think you can give him a little extra credit.
3 interception games, a B at best. 4D chess. This is when we're talking about Love's team in there for running the ball. Make everyone believe he's a dedicated runner. In goal line package the first game. Set up the pass for conference play and make a bowl.
I'll say this. This made me think of this. I did talk with Luke Trzwicki earlier this week, and we'll have some comments from him looped into the notebook after and all this as well. And I did ask him, I was like, how do you feel going into this year, kicking wise? How do you feel your game is? He's like, well, honestly, I feel like my game has been there. He said last year, I believe it was Lobstein who was holding on PATs and stuff like that as well. He said that was always done I'm not bashing Lobstein either. It's that was always done because they always wanted to give the impression that they might sneak and go for 2 and all that as well. He's now we have I'm actually getting real holds, preferable holds in that sense. And I thought that was honestly pretty interesting. Cool moment for Trzwicki tonight too. Drew on the 44-yarder, grew up a Michigan fan. Guys from Utica, which is Metro Detroit. Went to games here growing up. So we didn't get to talk to him after, but a pretty cool moment for him.
Michigan guy talk there.
Hey, us Michigan guys, man, we got to stick together. We got to stick together in the wild high desert.
Back to the end of the second half and the play that, it's hard to point so much to a play in the second quarter, but I thought it was a big play. And Lobo Leroy, he disagreed with the call at the end of the half, but I think it was sort of a live by the sword, die by the sword sort of choice, and I would agree with that.
Another sweet phrase from Lobo Leroy, by the way.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
It's so awesome. It's so cool, dude.
All right. It was really nice to see them with a good defensive line.
It's been a while.
What do you think about the defensive line play?
I thought it was solid. I would probably give that a C+, B-. That's what I put it there. I thought it was solid, but there wasn't anything tonight where I was because I've been hyping up the D-line a little bit from what I've seen in camp and all that, and there wasn't anything tonight where I was I don't know if this D-line's going to be it, in the end. I think it is a truly improved unit, and I liked how much they rotated as well.
Stoney's comment was sarcastic. Really.
What was Tony's previous comment? I'm
He
sorry.
was the one talking about the 4D chess and have him look like a runner in the goal line package now, and then have him be a passer come conference time and go to a bowl game.
Who knows? They might.
Lobo Leroy is saying,
this guy's a
first shall be last in the Mountain West. Let's flip the standings.
A last place Boise finish would be, oh my gosh.
Okay, let's derail real quick. More likely to happen, Nevada or New Mexico. We'll put them both in there. Finishing first, or Boise or UNLV. We'll just keep it 2-2. Either one of them finishing 10th, 11th, or 12th. Let's give them the double-digit finish.
I'm going to go more likely. Gosh, that's tough.
It's got to be Nevada.
I really was not inspired by that Boise performance. That was not
good. Yeah, but they're not going to finish as low as 10.
Yeah, no, I think more likely.
A Nevada.
Yeah, the baseline talent that's not going to happen. Yeah, I think more likely New Mexico, Nevada just shocked.
All right, so you're calling New Mexico, Nevada championship in the.
We get after 24 years of playing Wyoming. Every single year, the one year they don't play Wyoming. Wyoming just with this. I will say I like the defense against Akron. They meet in the Mountain West Championship game, and all is well. They meet for the 25th year. Everything is right.
Another point that I will bring up here. Let's try and move that up a little. Guess I can't. Considering the dollars UNM got for this game, is it fair to say UNM might have benefited from this game more than Michigan in some respects? I imagine confidence is high after sticking in a game with a Big Ten team, or top 10. I guess top 10 is what he means there, T10.
Top 10,
whereas Michigan seemed to show a few cracks in the armor and some loss of composure. I would agree with all that. I want to point out the money thing real quick, just since I was looking at the game contracts during the game. Sean knows this, I'm sure. But the game contracts are UNM got paid $1.8 million for this game against Michigan, of which $800,000 was already paid before this year. $1 million will be paid this fiscal year for the Lobos. There was some fun after I posted the contract and a little screenshot of the contract that showed that. Some people making jokes about the payment plan kind of approach to this.
That's pretty normal. I mean, it is.
Yeah. It's not entirely unusual, and it wasn't. And it's not so much Michigan wanted a payment plan. It was UNM really wanted some of that money a couple years ago and would take $200,000 or $300,000 in 2022, took $500,000 in 2024, and is taking the last $1 million now. That's more of a UNM could have really, 4 years ago when they booked this game, really needed the money. So it's not so much a Michigan wanting a payment plan as New Mexico wanting a cash advance, basically.
To answer Lobo Leroy's, can you put that back up? More general point about UNM. If you even just take out the dollars from it, I think you could absolutely make the argument that UNM benefited more in the sense of they got national exposure. They did not get rolled off the field. I think, honestly, I mean, Eck is the most marketable coach, the football coach they've had in my time here. I think he's more marketable than Davey, honestly. You can go back. So, I think getting that exposure out and showing like, hey, this is a guy that runs cool trick plays and his team plays really hard and all that. I think you could definitely make a good argument that they benefit more than Michigan. I don't think tonight was like some horrifying disappointment for Michigan. I think they're probably a good group of fans and honestly media too that you had real questions. How was Underwood going to play? And
the good thing for Michigan is that Underwood came in and didn't lay an egg.
Yeah. And I think even in the terms of the personnel thing, losing Barham for the first half against Oklahoma, that's not going to help. So,
All right. Do we have a Ray Guy candidate on our hands? I was surprised by the punts we were getting off.
That is 27-year-old Daniel Hughes, a veteran of semi-pro Australian rules football. He has a TikTok that is went super viral immediately after he started it. That's Hughes. He had some good ones tonight.
So the Mountain West has a kicker in Hawaii who already has a game winner, learning to kick on YouTube. We got a punter in New Mexico is a 27-year-old Australian who has a viral TikTok page. This is the Mountain West, right?
This is the Mountain West, indeed. But no, yeah, he is. I did clarify with Eck after he is the starting punter from here on out. He said it was kind of a close competition between him and Steinkamp, but that he is the starting punter. He also said that Steinkamp had a close competition with Montana transfer Graham Glasgow for kickoff duties as well, and of course Steinkamp won out on that.
Stoney's back in on YouTube. I'm looking forward to see what the creative media department does with the clips from the game. As a biased view, I can feel momentum building for the season. A good showing against UCLA could be huge. I would agree. It's also now's as good a time as any to point out that players on this team have told Sean. Sean has brought it up on the past shows. You're not going to know a whole lot about this team or as much as you want to really know. You can watch this Michigan game and get really excited. Next week, maybe they blow out an FCS team. Maybe they don't.
An FCS team that gave UNLV, some fits and all that.
You can get worried. You can get excited. But, you can't read too much into an FCS game, right? You probably can't read much into the UCLA.
I mean, to be fair, we read into a lot of the Montana State game last year. So, I think, I think we're the kings of kind of getting in there immediately after and saying, this means this. And it's not going to change.
But point being, 4 games in is when you're going to know about this year's team. And a lot of teams may say something like that. We won't know about this team until 3-4 weeks in. The way the schedule breaks out, it's really week 4 that you should really see the first, really what everyone would agree should be a like versus like sort of opponent. Even though Idaho State may be that, and maybe UNM has a really good showing next week and against UCLA, and you're starting to think, okay, they're really, really good. But in terms of what expectations are and what it says on paper, week 4 is when we should really have a good idea about this team. You agree with that, Sean?
I agree completely. And I think I talked about it on Tuesday, right? The idea that the schedule is just set up like this, where you go to Michigan and you're going to be big underdogs. You play the Idaho State and you're expected to kind of beat them handily. At the very least, you're paying them, so why not? And then over to the Rose Bowl, play a UCLA team that, let's check on the score right now.
While he's checking that score, the point is the first 3 games should be comfortable outcomes, one way or the other.
Utah, led by a certain Devin Dampier, is up 23-10 on UCLA. I believe Utah started 20-0 there. But I do think this is a UCLA offense that is going to be much improved. I don't know if the defense, we're going to have to figure that out. And that's not me looking at the score right there and saying, oh, we'll see what happens. They lost a million guys on defense from last year. So kind of questions there. And then obviously a hotly contested rivalry game against New Mexico State. Where
New Mexico State, by the way, 19-3 winner at home over Bryant.
Did you watch any of it? Or?
A little bit, and it just wasn't pretty to me. I didn't like New Mexico State's offense. I didn't think they were moving the ball very well. But we're sitting here saying don't overreact to the game 1 and to an FCS and this and that, even though we've done it. That goes both ways. UNLV looked bad against Idaho State. I think UNLV is going to be fine. UNM, Michigan, Michigan's telling themselves, we just looked not great against a New Mexico team. I think Michigan's probably still going to be fine too. Anyway, 19-3. I don't know what to make of that other than the parts I saw of it. I didn't really care for how NMSU's. Did I just pull one of those? How NMSU's offense was playing. So there you go. That's my quick take.
That's the best analysis in the business right there. Just
that's my analysis is
I don't really care about this. I don't like this. This is silly to me. Arch Manning like this.
Here we go. Devin Dampier. Ronnie is watching, and you just brought him up. So I am the king of pulling in a comment about a minute after we talk about something.
Timely. Anyone watching? You're crying watching Devin. I am not crying. I will probably watch that on the flight tomorrow, or I might watch New Mexico State actually. So we'll pick. But yeah,
John is letting us know on YouTube. Sean, thanks for burning the midnight oil, East Coast time once again. GG, another 75 minutes until you burn the oil. LOL. See everyone next week at the game.
John, thank you for the kind words. I do want to say I grew up in Michigan. Michigan actually, part of the Upper Peninsula is in Central Time, but the rest of the state and where I'm from is Eastern Time, and that kind of confuses people. They always think it's Central. I will say this. I have lived in Mountain Time, obviously, in New Mexico, and I kind of acted like a little bit of a tough guy with some people. like, oh, back at Michigan, man, we'd be up until 2 a.m. watching games and doing all that. Like, you guys don't. It's like, dude, that Thursday night with the Nebraska-Cincinnati game going past midnight, I was struggling at the end. I am getting soft in my old age, man.
Yeah, 19-year-old Sean.
How
old are you now? You're 19?
What's up?
How old are you now? How old are you now? 19, 20, something like that?
Just turned 18, actually.
Yeah, just turned 18. 18-year-old Sean over here, he's feeling his age.
I was not having a great time. I was getting a little annoyed. Like, okay, let's wrap this up. Salisbury, the Cincinnati QB, obviously that pick. I was like, thank God I can go to bed.
Yeah, I saw Sicko's committee talking on social media that night about, we didn't get another overtime. And I'm just thinking, man, poor Sean. It's way past his bedtime.
I'm getting old, man. I'm getting washed.
He's old.
I am, genuinely.
One interception wasn't his fault. The ball bounced off a player's helmet.
Absolutely, weird pop fly kind of deal.
All right, Josie. Building on my comment, I really like their defense. Oh, about the defensive line, I believe. Because they didn't fold. I've seen in previous years they need to work, but for a first game at a place like Michigan, they did pretty well once they started shaking off the nerves. I am hopeful in a way I haven't been in years. This is the danger that a week one solid, but still not a win, but a week one solid performance can do. Everyone's getting really excited here, Sean.
Yeah, this is a point Jackson Eck kind of made for the defense as a whole. Like, he's like, we very easily could have quit at certain points, and we didn't. Like, we came. He's like, he said the offense could have quit at certain points as well too, and that I think, nobody in the locker room in terms of talking to guys like Jackson and Dorian and all that, we're all too happy with the result. Obviously, Jackson Eck said I thought we had a good chance to win, frankly, heading into this one. But no, not quitting in this kind of environment where other teams would roll over, other Mountain West teams in recent history would roll over, frankly, not Fresno State last year, but a couple other in the past. Yeah, no, I think it's got to be heartening to a certain point.
Ronnie, Bryce Underwood needs to learn the work soft. The word soft, I guess.
The word soft.
And Michigan looked immature the way they tried to shove and the way the player went up the tunnel and Justice Haynes flipping off the UNM at the end. And he also adds Michigan is going 7-5 this season. I will disagree with you, Ronnie. I liked enough of what I saw with Michigan, which is maybe why I'm even more, I'm pretty impressed with the UNM stuff. Because I think Michigan actually is going to be okay. Maybe not a Final Four kind of team, but they'll be in contention for CFP.
I think they're going to have a hard time hitting the 9.5 in the win total. I think they're going to need an all-time generational season from Underwood for that to happen. And maybe this is a slow start on that. I just don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I think they're going to be pretty good.
Is that a green shirt I see you wearing, Sean?
No, I will say, going back to the tunnel point, obviously there have always been some issues and extracurricular stuff in this tunnel. Certainly stuff that I have noticed because of where I went to school and all that too. After being in that tunnel and walking up that tunnel, I get it now. That is not a big tunnel, and it is shocking that there is only one tunnel. But I do get it now. And the way that the visitor and the home locker rooms are set up to like immediately clash, I don't know. Anyways,
I saw him on TikTok. Adam talking about the punter, I assume.
Daniel Hughes.
Relatively healthy? I think, yeah. Well, first of all, I'd say relatively. I'd say, yeah.
I'd say relatively, yeah. I don't know if I could speak on any specifics at this point, to be honest with you. That was not a big focus, and that's on me, to be honest with you. I got asked those injury questions. I did not hammer the injury questions today. So put that on me. I'm a little rusty as well. I got some things to clean up.
It's just so late. I know you're tired. Dampier has UCLA looking like an FCS team as we speak, so our odds may be better than we think against UCLA, is what he is referring to there. G-Way letting us know that Deshaun Foster, no bueno, head coach.
I did really like the Big Ten Media Days clip where he said, all the coaches were asked if you could add any player to your team right now, who would you add? And he said him. That's kind of cool. That's all. I really like that, actually.
Recorded UNMSU from Geoff.
Clip it.
Clip it.
Put it out there.
Don't know what you guys are talking about. My previous comment was more directed to getting fans interested in watching a game.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, no, I think I think you should be interested in this team if you saw you saw it tonight. Unless you really thought that they were going to like beat Michigan. Absolutely.
All right, Richie's giving us a me too, Sean. Me too. I don't even know what this is in reference to, but I am getting sick of you and Richie and all you're agreeing on. Like you and Richie and Michigan talk.
I think this is in reference to me getting tired after my bedtime. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that might be it.
I think that's it.
All right. Reider. Am I saying your name right, Reider? Or are we throwing it all together as a Reider? I was on the East Coast to watch UNM Hawaii game last season, felt the sun coming up while our season was falling apart. Well, that's just sad. How's Arizona doing right now? By the way, I like this Arizona team this year, guys. Am I about to eat my
31-6 Wildcats?
Okay. I do like this Arizona team this year. There you go. That's my big. I don't know what it is. John is asking us any update on Brawley.
I don't know. Brawley. Yeah. No, I don't. I will try and get an update as soon as possible. Again, put that on me. I did not hammer injury stuff today, and that's my bad. Genuinely, I need to do a better job on that.
I actually did make a brief appearance at a casino last night. Look at this.
Casino.
I wish I could tell you I was there to make money. I was not. I was not. Mark Anthony Romero is saying, do you see a big crowd for the home opener? I don't.
Big crowd, right? Like big crowd.
I don't, because I'm very much in. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, so, big crowd, as in bigger than it's been recently, or like sellout. Like that. Those are two different things, right?
Yeah, I do think that this. Well, I was going to say this is off to the right start. They're doing the right stuff, right? This is Jason Eck's building some momentum. It was a good start against a team that they weren't supposed to beat, and I think they're doing the right things. I don't see it all happening by next week, though.
Yeah. Happy football season to you, Mark.
That is correct. We stopped them on defense a bunch. It was cool to see. I would agree.
They did, man. I mean, they genuinely, like, the defense worked the way it was supposed to. I mean, that's got to be hard, man.
Tiki Taki Tacos remembering the good golden years, the golden era of we're far removed from 72-0 versus Oregon in 2010, or at least we appear to be, and that's a win. I would say so. I think this team is better than a 72-0 loss to Oregon.
I have heard so much about this game. It is referenced so much. Fredo Moreno, our guy, he referenced this game in my mentions tonight as well, too. They were down 56-0 at halftime, something like that. There's a part of me that wants to go back and watch this game. Just so I can
running clock. Like that was a game that college football should have had a running clock.
And there's a part of me that doesn't want to watch this game.
Griego YouTube is saying concerned about our running game. Eck made the point tonight that they got to block the run better, and part of that's personnel, but he was a little more firm in that compared to protecting lane and all that. Like, no, we need to block the run better. Yeah,
like, we need to be able to lean on that with the guys that we have.
That's fair. You can't talk up the run game as much as it kind of got talked up. I listened to the pregame show on the radio, and it was talked up there too. And
I thought
Michigan's defensive line.
I thought we talked about it a little bit. Actually, I don't think we talked about it, but I think I talked about it on radio last week or whatever. Like, who do you think is Lobo's best pass catching back? And I think Deshaun Buchanan kind of built a little momentum towards that tonight. I had not seen him used like that, at least during camp. So, and then DJ McKinney is obviously UNM's best passing back. So.
Yeah. Love the post-game show. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, all of you guys, Mark.
Appreciate you, Mark. Appreciate it.
If you go by Mark or Mark Anthony, if you go by both, then I apologize for just calling you Mark. But who ran? Actually, I saw this comment earlier. Did I lose it and not post it earlier? But who ran faster, Coach Eck or Richard Pierce?
I will say I have seen Jason run onto the practice field a number of times at this point, and obviously a little bit tonight. He's got, dude. He can move, like genuinely. Like he can get from point A to point B a lot quicker than you might think.
Ice baby. Is there any truth of our quarterback still being injured since he sat out for all summer workouts?
I don't.
And this is Jack Laney, but Jack Lane.
I don't think there's no. I don't think he would have played as much as he did during fall camp. And look, Lane spoke at the beginning of camp and said, like, look, like, the elbow thing is always in the back of your mind and all that, but he said it felt fine. So I didn't know this was a rumor out there, but.
Can you believe they didn't say New Mexico State once? Not until this post-game by the New Mexico State grad covering the Lobos. The first NMSU UNM mix-up was by me. I didn't really mix it up. Whatever.
How was the broadcast tonight? From your thoughts,
I thought it was good. I mean, it's obviously NBC has the Big Ten, right? They're going to lean Big Ten. It wasn't quite like a Notre Dame game where all they ever talk about is Notre Dame. When NBC used to kind of just be notorious for just loving on Notre Dame the entire game. They didn't do that, but New Mexico didn't give them a chance. After that first quarter, it was a heck of a game. For 3 quarters, this was a very good game, so there was a lot of Lobo praise, and I thought it was good. I also think Eagles really good. I think, the apple didn't fall far. He's good. Ronnie as another one. All right, the receiving group needs to look at how Dorian Thomas played and follow his lead. Wide receivers need to be tough when that ball is thrown at them. Am I being too harsh? I don't know. Buckley needs to fight for the ball.
Can I pose this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I pose this question? There were concerns about this receiver group going into tonight, right? And they were only going to play X amount of guys heading into this game, obviously, because of injuries. Do you think they alleviated any concerns tonight, the guys that played, in terms of how this group might actually end up being? What is your kind of read on that? I'm curious.
First of all, Dorian was better than I thought, especially because I thought I had heard something about him getting hurt in preseason, but he looked pretty good. I will also say I thought the receivers were fine because I think Michigan's defense is so good. I guess I wouldn't say I have a high or a low opinion of the receiving group. I'll have to give it another week probably.
I think I'm going to have to sit another week and probably another 2 weeks, honestly, until they get a little bit healthier. But yeah, I think the verdict is still out with this receiving group. Yeah. In terms of them needing to be tougher, like I don't know if tougher is the word I would use, but I thought oh my gosh, Buckley had that really nice catch, kind of sort of set up a little bit of a red zone thing. I thought that was relatively good too.
Yeah, hit pretty hard too.
And I'll say this: that is a guy that had some issues in the past catching the ball genuinely, and I think he's looked a lot better.
He got stuck pretty hard on that ball you're talking about, to set up that red zone opportunity. He got hit pretty hard.
Ronnie, I don't think you're being like too harsh. I just don't know if this is. I don't know if we should be reading everything into this at this point. Yeah. But verdict's still out.
Mario, you are correct. Jack Lane took some serious hits, like a lot of them.
Got drilled. Absolutely.
Looking forward to the new Mountain West in 2026 with the addition of NIU, UTEP, Hawaii becoming full members.
If I get to travel to Northern Illinois, yes, I am.
If I get to travel to Hawaii, yes.
I'm fired up about going.
Sean and I are built different. I'm looking forward to maybe going to Hawaii. He's looking forward to going to Northern Illinois.
Dude, I could see some family again. That'd be fun. I love coming back to the Midwest. It's awesome.
I think when you're 18, you do get a little homesick. I get it.
In general, I think there will be some cool things to come, and I think also the realignment from our perspective in terms of covering teams that Grammer has covered these teams far longer than me that have become familiar. That will be quite weird in some ways. Yeah, Colorado State.
I'm not looking forward to the Mountain West breaking up. I don't mind those teams coming in at all. I like those teams coming in, like that part intriguing, but I
like an excuse to go down to El Paso too. I think that's cool. So.
You're just weird for saying that. Adam Lopez, the dark days of Mike Locksley. We're talking about that 72-0 Oregon game. Try and memory hole the locks there as much as possible. Richie, so you gonna eat a grape and or a blueberry next week?
Yeah. What do we? Let's go with grape. Let's go with grape.
You're gonna eat a grape next week
If they win, right? I think if they win, I'll eat the grape. If they lose to Idaho
if they
State, I'm
beat
not.
Idaho State. You're gonna eat a grape. Like that's worthy of
If they
breaking.
lose to Idaho State, I'm not eating. I'm not eating anything. Like,
I don't get it.
We're not eating that after losses. But
I agree. I don't think 7-5 is happening, Ronnie. I just don't. And for Sean to say he doesn't see the 9.5 win total, I'm okay with that. That's 2 more wins. I won't say that's ridiculous, but I think Michigan's still going to be. I think Michigan's going to be fine. I'll have to look at their schedule, I guess. But I heard an announcer saying Neo Malatolo used to coach
excuse me,
at Army multiple times during the San Jose State game. That's got to be worse than UNM and MSU.
That is not good. UNM and MSU is bad because of how consistently it happens. That one just kind of botching Ken, who was at Navy a long time. I don't know. I don't like that.
Noah Eagle was on the call for NBC. He is there. By the way, John Fanta's now there too, who's a guy I've gotten to know a little bit, and was great on the updates for NBC. That is a new acquisition. At least a newly announced acquisition by NBC. But G Wade is saying No Eagle was excellent. Enjoyed the Lobos went loco comment after the Eck trick play. I agree. Jaden is saying, I think Keegan Johnson was good tonight. What do you think?
Agree. I do think Keegan Johnson did some nice things. I think I might be misremembering this. I don't remember if this is a good pass or not, or if it was a true drop, actually. So I should probably withhold. But no, I think it's encouraging that he was out there and it played solid. I think that was encouraging. Going against this defense, of course.
This defense plays into this comment. Fly to Sky 505. In regards to the subpar running game, you have to give Michigan's run defense some credit. Hopefully Humphreys and others will have more success against less talented teams. I agree with that. I'm telling you, I really like Michigan's defense, but especially their defensive front. Yep. I know again, the TV was talking about their linebacking core was sort of their strength. Yeah. I think their secondary.
We were talking about the D line as like a top 5 unit. That linebacker core, I think that's definitely a top.
Yeah, D line is. I think D line's going to end up being, but it's really one stud that I really like on that D line. Anyway, yes, but you're right. To your point, this is right. It's hard to judge a run game against that Michigan defense because I think their defense is really good. Look, Michigan was as good as they were last year because of defense. It wasn't. I mean, their offense was bad. So,
do you think with let me pull this up. Do you think with 10 carries, that Scott Trey Humphrey? Actually, do you think the Lobos will rush for under 100 yards in any other game this season? Under the 100 yards total, correct?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that would be a safe bet to take, frankly. Even against UCLA, I think they're going to hit 100 in every other game.
Yeah, I think that's right. Ronnie M. Higgs, Sean says it's going to be tough for Michigan to cover 9.5 win total. So 9 wins is only 2 more than 7. That's correct. So I'm pretty close according to someone who covers the game.
Ronnie, you are correct. You're also talking to like a guy who covers the game while also being kind of an idiot. So kind of, I don't know.
Any betting lines on Idaho State next week? There are some places that are starting to put lines out a good week in advance for college on a consistent basis, but I haven't looked at them, so I don't know.
It's also the FCS, and these are always referred to as like extra games at sports books and all that too. Like the FCS games are like the FCS FBS games, I should say, are there's always prime extra games.
I will give you my betting line. This is take it to the bank. This is Grammar's line right now. New Mexico at home. I think UNM should be favored by, let's see, UNLV was favored by quite a bit actually over Idaho State.
Yeah.
New Mexico should be favored. I still think by 10.
Do we know what happened in Idaho State's game today? They lost 46-24 to Southern Utah.
Yeah. I think that New Mexico will be favored by 10 to 13. I don't think it'll be 2 touchdowns, but maybe like, let's call it 13.5. It's a home game for New Mexico for an FBS school. But it is New Mexico that probably shouldn't get a whole lot of betting love.
This Southern Utah score is ringing in my head. I think you could. I will go down as
18, 19.
Yeah, 17, 18. Put me down in there. Let's see that.
I'm saying 13.5.
Okay.
Marco. I'll go with Marco. I can
like
remember
Marco.
that.
Thank you for tuning in.
I can remember that.
Jesus. Blew it.
How was the atmosphere, man? Lobo fans making their presence known. You know, there were a couple field level angles though that were showing the sunset that you could see a fairly good chunk of red.
Absolutely. There was a big. I'm pointing at it right now, not like you guys can see it, but a good chunk of red over there. I don't know how it was to. Oh, we got some sirens out there. I don't know how it was to Lobo fans in particular. I think you'd have to talk to a couple Lobo fans, but. Look, the Big House is a cool place to catch a game, and I've never had a bad time here as a fan and stuff like that. So I think people are pretty cool. So
yeah, Michigan State fan can't say that, man. Never had a bad time.
I will say for our viewers, the last time I was in this stadium, it was 2019. I don't remember the date. It was Michigan State, Michigan. Last year, the Mark D'Antonio era. Max Worthington scored on the first drive to go up 7-0. And me and my buddies were in the crowd, like slapping palms, like, hell yeah, this is awesome. MSU lost 44-10. So
Michigan talk. Don't extrapolate too much out the entire season off one game. Both teams have plenty to work on.
Absolutely. Because I think that's probably the best take of the night.
I couldn't tell if that was an Iron Eagle or a Noah Eagle. It's because they are quite similar. They got
Birds of a feather.
What's that?
Birds of a feather.
Yes, there you go. Eagle reference. Okay. It's getting late. It's getting late on the East Coast for Sean.
Where was Sean Miller, Illinois transfer? This is on me. I did not ask about Miller's absence. I will ask about Miller's absence on Tuesday, but he was out and he did not practice this week at all. So I'm not sure what's going on there. He is not in a walking boot. He is not in a sling. We will see what happens. I think his mom did tweet something out on Twitter, if I remember correctly, on Thursday night. And said it was like a little snafu. So we'll see.
Eck must be a good coach from what I saw from the game. Not many penalties. He made adjustments. And the defense was pretty solid. Some Eck praise. And that's fair.
Yeah, I think so.
Got to start the coin flips for football.
I can't rip him off on everything, honestly. Like I think we got the fruit thing going, but I can't rip him off on everything.
I'm just saying I need to do it because you can't. Like I think I had another losing record today. I don't know. I didn't think Michigan would destroy the Lobos the way Vegas had predicted. Transfer portal, NIL era. It's hard to get a read from teams season to season.
That is
that, but I will point this out a lot, as a lot of people have pointed out, critical of UNM. A lot of FCS players. In that first quarter, I saw at least 2 tweets, one directed at me, one I just saw elsewhere, pointing out, sure looks like a team that has a lot of FCS players. And at the end of the game, they were still a team with a lot of FCS players. Yeah. They're pretty good FCS players, I would say, too. So
if you're really good at the FCS level, you can play at the FBS level. You could be a good player. But I will say on the note of getting a read on teams from season to season, Eck mentioned that point. He's like, look, it's a new season every season for every team from season to season. I'm saying season too much. Get me out of here.
We are wrapping up here pretty soon, guys. We're over an hour here. We're going to try and cut these off for the most part at about an hour. This was an interesting game. So, but Sean still has work to do. Over under on the Idaho State attendance next Saturday. I say 24,000 show. That's Mario saying that on YouTube. I will say under.
I will say under as well.
Yeah, I don't think it'll hit 20,000, but I would be shocked if I think it'll be closer to 20 than 15. It's about as much as I could say about this, just because I think it's going to take so long for Albuquerque to get going, but I do think it could get going. And
I think home opener, if they next season, if they went to a bowl like last year, like this year, I should say, and then I think we can have this discussion. I think 24K is a little tall order. So
New Mexico State game should be pretty good though. Thanks, guys. Love your show. I'll be tuning in all season. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
So. Was Eck calling plays or the coordinators?
No, Luke Schleissner calls the plays on offense, and then Spence Nowinski is the defensive.
I'll say this: when you watch the replay, Sean, because I know you usually do, right? I mean, usually.
I think he has override on certain things. Though.
Well, you do watch the broadcast of the games, of most games, right?
while I get to watch them back after. Obviously, when you're covering the game, we do have.
No, that's what I'm saying. When you watch this back, when it shows Eck on the sidelines, he seemed to be a little more involved in the coordinators calling plays than I thought. Like, especially aren't both coordinators from Idaho?
No.
No, just
Leisner is from Idaho. Spence Nowinski is from Memphis.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, just watch the interaction he has where he seemed to be standing right next to his coordinator quite a bit, even though they have the headsets on, but he seemed to be.
Well, they're not. The coordinators are both the coordinators are in the booth.
So you're right. Why would I think he was by the coordinators though? He was always talking.
Coordinators are in
on the field level. Who's calling in from the field? The guy calling into plays from the field level.
Yeah, Coach Con.
Yeah, yes. Sorry, not the coordinators. And Eck would stand right next to those guys quite a bit, communicating his thoughts. It seemed more than I had noticed head coaches do a lot. Obviously not with the coordinators because they're upstairs.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, like compared to look, I watched I went to the MSU game last night. John Smith's the head coach there, and John Smith. Spence is on the field?
Yeah.
Then I've got that wrong. That's my bad.
Anyway, just watch that. When you watch the replay, I'm curious what your thoughts are on on Eck's involvement with the people calling the play in from the sideline.
Okay.
There were a couple times that I just saw Eck over there a little more than the head coach I'm used to seeing. That's all.
Okay.
Like I'm not even saying it was good or bad. I remember noticing it. Okay. Get any reaction from Sharon Moore?
I was sent some quotes. I have not looked at them yet. We might have something right here, or we might not. Oh my God, where is this? Sorry, this is just a great show.
While you're doing that, I'm going to read this one real quick. This team looks pretty confident. Was impressed with our quarterback. I think that's true. I think there was good ones. Ronnie, real quick, for having 75 new players, second most in FBS. What a great showing by the Lobos. Ronnie saying by our Lobos, was rooting for them every play. Was head scratching on some, but overall so excited to be out at the stadium this season. I think a lot of people are generally excited. I don't know how many of the people who weren't already on board, who weren't already going to go
on board, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's solidified the people who are going to be there anyway, saying, all right, now I'm really excited. Yeah. It's the people who hadn't made up their mind yet. I'm not sure that they've made up their mind yet. Looking forward to your show all season. So, okay, Sean, go ahead.
We talked about one. Actually, I'll start with the quotes. This is something that happened if you watched the press conference earlier in the week that Sharon Moore did. And I actually get that completely because, look, you had to talk to Sharon Moore about the NCAA sanctions. It was the first time you had the opportunity to do that. And also the Bryce Underwood news. Those are more news. Michigan's beat writers are serving their audience better by hammering those questions and those things as opposed to asking about New Mexico, frankly. So I totally get that. The email I got tonight from a Michigan, a guy that covers Michigan, and said he would send some quotes. No one asked anything about New Mexico, so I don't have anything on that regard, and that is not unusual for a game like this. The other thing I will say to kind of build on the point you just made about, actually, I'll pose this question to you. Do you think more people were kind of converted into I'm going to be interested in Lobo football after the Montana State game last year than this one? I think more were sold on the Montana State game, frankly. That's the vibe I got.
Nope.
No, the idea of not solidifying, but converting over to hey, this is something I need to watch every week. I only watch it occasionally.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it, but I think it was this one. I think. I'm going to run down some quick scores here. We're going to wrap up here. I'll give Sean his final thoughts here in a second, but before I do, some Mountain West scores today, just since there are some people who follow a Mountain West team on this show right now. The Lobos, right? Nevada was a 42.5 point underdog at Penn State.
Dogs at Happy Valley, yeah.
Number 2, Penn State 46, Nevada 11. Was never close. I wouldn't. But they covered, and that's. Yeah. It's hard to cover. Once you're getting up into the 30s and 40s, it is hard to cover an FBS line that big, which is why I took Air Force, and they didn't even cover. Air Force beats Bucknell 49-13. That is a 36-point spread. And, oh, wait. They were favored by. Oh, I took Bucknell. That's why, because I got this wrong. Air Force did cover. I'll quit talking about my picks now and just give you scores. Penn State 46 over Nevada 11. Air Force beat FCS Bucknell 49-13.
Pause. Tough loss for Coach Chick at Bucknell. Tough loss for him, man. So just want to note that one there. Good guy, good dude.
Utah State. Head coach Bronco Mendenhall's Utah State.
I didn't see what ended up happening in this game. What did happen?
28, UTEP 16.
This was a weird one to me. This felt like because UTEP was getting some love, and frankly, I was giving a little bit of love too. I don't know if
I ended up picking them, and I was like, why did I do that?
I don't know if I don't know if I really pounded the drum as hard as some guys, but I mean, I saw the path for UTEP this year. I'm gonna have to watch this game. I'm very interested to see what actually ended up happening here. And Utah State.
I got the impression it was a full team. I got the impression it was a really comfortable 12-point win for Utah State. That even though the 28-16 doesn't look like maybe not a blowout, but doesn't look all that comfortable, it was comfortable for Utah State from the impression I got. Yep. Fresno State 42, Georgia Southern 14. Real good final there because Georgia Southern was favored by 1.5.
Yeah, they whacked. That's a Georgia Southern team that's like going to be competing for a conference title. They waxed them. Wow.
Yeah, and every quarter.
Wow. I mean, they did not look good last week.
No, and it was this was a 14-13 game at halftime. Georgia Southern leading 14-13 at halftime. The second half was 29-0 Fresno State.
That's a good one for Matt Entz and the boys in the Valley. That's a good one, guys.
So, and then the two games going on right now, I'll hit refresh just to make sure I am up to date. But we got 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter in Tucson, Arizona. Danny Gonzalez is Arizona Wildcats. 34, Hawaii 6. We got at Washington 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Washington 28, Colorado State 21.
Wait, say that Colorado State score again?
Washington's favored by 21, and they were up 28-21. So they're only up 7 with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Wow. We're going to have to get that on, Grammar.
Arizona 34, Hawaii 6. I think that was a 16-17 point spread for Arizona. And I picked Arizona because I'm high on Arizona, and I didn't know how healthy Hawaii was going to be after that win over Stanford. Because even though I'm not high on Stanford, they were tough. And Hawaii looked beat up to me. So there we go.
I did not know you were this high on Hawaii. I didn't know that.
No, I'm high in Arizona. Trivia, what program has the most new players? If UNM has the second most new players in FBS, Ronnie, I will take if you want to chime in with that answer. I don't know who it is. But let's do this while Ronnie may or may not be able to give us an answer. Sean, wrap it up. What's the final word from Ann Arbor, your takeaway on the Lobos' performance and just what it means?
Showed some good things. Showed some maybe not as great things, but I think you can give them a pass in certain degrees because of the personnel that they were going against. This is a Michigan team that I think will be good. I don't know if they will be in the thick of the Big Ten race till the very end, but I think I've seen enough. This is a team that, they have a goal of qualifying for the college football playoff, and I think they could not easily. They're going to have to do a lot of things, and they're going to need some good play from Underwood down the stretch. But yeah, I think they're going to be in the mix for that too. Guys kept saying it all throughout the post-game press conference. It didn't matter who, Coach Eck or Jason Eck or Dorian Thomas. Guys felt there was a lot to get cleaned up tonight. And Eck kind of made the point. We finally got feedback tonight. We went live bullets and we got feedback. I would expect some things to get cleaned up. But at the same time, look, we talked about it multiple times this show. We are not going to know what kind of team this is truly, until we're about 4 games in and all that as well. I think we're going to get a sense, and maybe this team will reveal itself at some point in that stretch. And, we will be able to, we won't acknowledge it as much because we're kind of hammering the sample size point. But no, I think this is a pretty rock solid start to the Eck era. And I think I don't know if I've ever had this many replies about people feeling this good about the team and all that as well. So yeah.
Quick update. Your Albuquerque Isotopes won tonight in Round Rock. Your New Mexico United lost tonight. Your UNM Lobo volleyball team won today. I think they're 3-0 because I think they got 2 matches yesterday. Heather Dyke and the women UNM Lobo women's soccer team plays a second road game in Oregon tomorrow at Oregon State. What other little quick updates can I give you guys as we sign off? I got one. The 2-0 Alamogordo High School Tigers play in Albuquerque next week against the 2-0 Albuquerque High School Bulldogs. Alamogordo AHS versus Albuquerque High AHS next Friday night. James Yotis is trying very hard to convince me to cover that game. I will be wearing my Alamogordo leather jacket. That's a lie, doesn't fit. But I will be singing the fight song with the team and the band and whoever wants to sing it with me. Go Tigers. And the Lobo Howl is back. That is correct. There you go, Ronnie. We do have that update for basketball. Lobo Howl is back. But look, first home game. In all seriousness, this is a big time for Lobo athletics to try and get football right, to try and get basketball keep rolling after it kind of got back on track with Patino and now Eric Olin. Fernando Lobo has only been here 9 months, and this is a key time. So a good start to the football season for the Lobo era and the Eck era, despite a loss. And I do think that while I don't think they're going to get to 20,000 fans next week, I think they did what they're supposed to today in getting some of that excitement going. And we'll see. I think if Eck can build a program like everyone seems to think he can build a program, this was the start they needed, and maybe a sign of some good things to come. And so good for the Lobo football program tonight.
One last thing. I am the Associated Press top 25 college football voter for the state of New Mexico. I don't have to file a ballot tonight because games are going into Monday, and obviously, being Labor Day weekend and all that. So I got to file on Tuesday. What team? We got a lot to play out. Obviously, right now, who would you pick number one in the country?
I guess since they lost, I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to say the Lobos. It's either Penn State or Ohio State, obviously, right?
Yeah, I think. I gotta watch the LSU game. I'm gonna have to throw that on someday at some point Monday while I'm doing dishes or whatever. But
here's the first two answers for you. Ohio State.
I'm leaning Ohio State.
Penn State.
I also had preseason Penn State won, and I think
Adam Lopez is telling you Ohio State. Brown Sugar's telling you Penn State.
Like two angels on my shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam Lopez over here. You got Brown Sugar over here.
Yeah, I gotta watch some games and really. I don't have to watch the Ohio State game. I'll watch all of that, but yeah, we're gonna have to figure this out. Alabama. Whew, are the Noles back?
No.
Gus Malzahn, man, love that.
Got some other chiming in here. Got another Ohio State. Penn State has more of an experience.
Richie gets my line of thought. He gets it.
We do got the Writer's Block. The name of his blog is the Writer's Block.
Writer's Block. Yeah, I do got to go right now for my job. Dude, Knowles might be higher than 25 in my book. I liked what I saw today. I really liked it.
Number one team in the country on Sean's poll. The one, the only, Michigan Wolverines.
Hail to the victors.
Are you even allowed to do what you're doing? Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself.
It's 141 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Like, I don't think I'm the only guy.
Sean, the Michigan State guy, singing.
I don't think I'm the only guy like that's semi-delirious in Ann Arbor right now, kind of trying to belt out "Hail to the Victors." By the way, Portnoy did not do a good job with that one today. Jeez Louise, like it needs a vocal lesson or two. All right, we should probably wrap up.
Be clear on what Portnoy you're talking about.
Oh, Dave Portnoy, not the voice of the Lobos, Robert Portnoy. It is funny to get them confused. So.
Utah leading UCLA 36-10 with about 10 left. All right. Devin Dampier. There you go. Sean, seriously.
Jason Eck with a B as well. And Jason Ryan Davis. Right. And Akari Rogers.
That's right. Sean, good work tonight. Obviously, you still got a lot of work to do. For those that don't know, Sean's night is not even close to over. He's got a big long travel weekend and work weekend ahead of him, while I get to pretty much probably go have a beer and fall asleep on my couch. I will be picking up the pace on some podcasts starting again next week. I've not entirely been off, but had not worked as much the past couple weeks with some family stuff with my wife. But I'll be coming back a little bit more next week. We still have some stuff going on, so I'll be picking up the pace a little bit more. Sean has already been working his ass off. James Yotis has already been working his ass off. If you guys can, I'm not going to let the show go without pitching it once. abqjournal.com/subscribe is where you could subscribe to the Albuquerque Journal digitally or in print. It does help us with shows like this. It helps us with everything. Our podcast network has plenty of shows going and a lot of content there. Obviously, a lot of written content as well online. So please help out if you can. Sean, you got a podcast lined up for this week?
Yeah, we will have a podcast. I don't have a guest to tease right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably a tougher week with an FCS opponent
It's a tougher one. I actually did read I actually did reach out to a guy that covers Idaho State for the Idaho State Journal, and he will not be available for that. So we might be scrambling a little bit.
Okay. So Florida look good.
They are on the radar. I don't know if I'm going to rank them, but they are on the radar. Might be a congested poll. Thank you, Brown Sugar. I appreciate that.
Much love to Sean and all his coverage. Sean, safe travels, man.
Grammar, appreciate you, as always.
We will be doing our show Tuesday, and I guess until then, I'm about to hit the end stream button, and we're going to time it. I think it's going to be about 30 seconds from the time I tell the show to turn off until it actually turns off, and Sean and I will stare cluelessly into the screen for a while, and you guys can laugh at us.
Without fail. It always happens. But no, thank you to everybody, as always, for producing our show for us. Hit that end button. Let's stare into the camera.
Bye, guys.